have the great Jack Gordon here from Maney and Gordon. The great, and I say.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate that.
Mr. 2% body fat, Harley driving.
Yeah, but today you said no tank top. I can't show the guns. I got to show up on one of Dave Kahn's custom tailored suits. Now, Dave, this is not a plug, by the way. Dave has been making my suits for the better part of 10 years now. And he said, will you wear a suit over to Ian's show? And I thought to myself, what am I, pizzazz? I don't want to give away my secrets.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't want people knowing where I get my clothes.
But, dude, if you wanted to rip out of that shirt and have a tank top underneath, I would understand wholeheartedly. Because if I had 2% body fat, I wouldn't have a shirt on right now.
I'm about 2%, man. I mean, now in my 50s.
Yeah.
There's no more cleansing and banging with a heavy iron.
No,
you know
no.
that.
Oh, I know that. Trust me. I get the 20s in there. I get my little hater pump. And then I leave. I do my little cardio. So
seriously, let me take this opportunity just to congratulate you, man.
Thank you, sir.
It is an awesome thing to see. There's a lot of folks that talk about the transition, talk about the crossover, not just SUV to car crossover. And I'm not talking only about the transition from like porn star to a mainstream television and
those are tougher transitions, by the way. Much tougher.
Listen to me. There's so many guys who have leveraged their professional athletic careers, and they go into sports broadcasting. You've gone beyond that, man. You're a legitimate celebrity, legitimate radio personality, but we're talking about utilizing your expertise, your focus, your emphasis on social aspects, on popular culture. It's great stuff, man. So I appreciate you bringing me along with you.
Well, thank you, brother. And you were part of the Ron and Ian show. I believe you're still doing some commercials over there.
I am.
Which is fine. I mean, that's still my people. I got no problem over there. Well, we've been friends for a while. We were neighbors.
Yeah, man.
No, we both moved out. Okay, that happens.
Moving on up.
Move on up. No, I didn't move on up. I moved down. I moved down, and there's too much house for a brother. I can't pay the taxes no more.
Because now you're going to be concerned about tuition, man.
Yeah,
tuition.
Well, I got 3 kids in college, so yes, tuition is definitely a concern. But, Jack, I wanted to bring you on because I'm hearing everybody talking about race relations, and one thing that bothers me is when people talk about something that they're unaware of, okay? And there's a lot of things that I'm not privy to, okay? I didn't have a lot of money. I grew up in Canada. As a different situation than growing up here with the racial relations. Now I'm very blessed. So, I don't know what it's like in the hood. I don't live in the hood, okay? And if you live in the hood, I hope nobody's offended, but there's somewhere where people call the hood, and they embrace it, okay? Yeah. Now, as a lawyer, I don't know if anybody sees the right and wrongs, justices and misjustice of our system and racial relations, and right now in this world is crazy because this is what I believe the problem is, and please correct me if you think I'm wrong. There's 2 sides, and there shouldn't be sides. There's a white side and a black side, and there should be a right and wrong side, and that's changed, unfortunately.
Yeah, something though, that's human nature. There's always sides. There's the man-woman thing, the battle of the sexes. There's the old versus youth. There's the wealthy versus the poor. There's management versus employees. The reality is that we do have racial tensions in this country, and I can tell you that over the course of the past 50 years, I think there's probably, I'm in my 50s now, I'm 53 years old. I think there's been some significant social advance, but, it's been a long time since I was a young boy and the man had the aspiration, the expressed potential hope, dream that one day someone's not going to be judged by the color of their skin, but rather the strength of their character and their integrity. And I think we've made some great strides, but unfortunately some of the things that have been occurring in recent United States history is not good, from Trayvon Martin to Freddie Gray to the circumstances with George Zimmerman. Just in the course of the past 30 days, there's been a number of different articles, Washington Post, the USA Today, and they are polling the American people. And the vast majority of American people believe that we have a race problem. We have a race issue. As a matter of fact, statistically, at least in one study in USA Today, that this is the highest, actually no, I apologize, this was an NBC poll, that right now race relations are the worst they've been, at least statistically, since October of 1995, after the verdict finding O.J. Simpson innocent. And we're still talking about that 20-something years later,
We're
right?
never going to stop.
We're not going to stop. And right now, obviously, the primary concern when we talk about some of the movements like Black Lives Matter, there's absolutely a police bias. You can't get around it statistically. There's a guy, a Harvard economics professor, Roland Fryer. He published this study just recently during the course of the last couple of months, the empirical analysis of racial differences in police use of force. So absolutely, the police are profiling people. The manner in which police respond to a hostile circumstance is different based upon the race of the people involved.
But can I say this, though, Jack? And I think we have to be able to think this way, okay? if you're a African American man that grew up in Compton, and every time a cop came around, they were pushing your face into the pavement, you're going to look at cops different than Jack Gordon and Ian Beckles.
Absolutely. But I think more so, Ian, to say, well, listen, this is a circumstance that occurs on police forces. In all fairness, that's unfair. That's got to be a manifestation of something deeper. It's not just a function of, well, police are looking at folks differently. If police are looking at folks differently, the average human being and the average American are looking at people differently.
I don't know what average is, because on the other end of the spectrum, if you're a cop and every time you go in Compton, the brothers are armed and ready to kill, then once again, can you blame him for going in and profiling? Okay, I think that's the problem, okay, because that's this evolution, okay? I bring it up when NWA came up with the song F the Police, okay? If you listen to what they're saying, they're telling you what the police are doing.
Sure.
They're not telling you you should hate the police.
No, it's a reflection of what they were experiencing on the streets of Los Angeles.
That's it.
Absolutely.
Which is different than what we experience. And listen, you're just a product of your environment, regardless of what you think.
Yes and no. I think at the end of the day, and kudos to you, because here we are. At the end of the day, you're an entertainer, but I gotta again give you kudos for otherwise tackling and addressing the important issues. I'm not a social professor, and I can't necessarily tell you what the solution is, but I do know this: it is of extreme benefit to keep the dialogue open, for you to dedicate a portion of your show to talking about
absolutely.
to talking about race relations. I can tell you, this may be a more unique circumstance for a man here in Florida, but not so unique with respect to the folks that I grew up with in Boston. Again, at 53 years old, I lived through busing. I remember very clearly the state troopers coming into the school. I remember when there were determinations regarding whether or not the school would participate in what's called METCO, where we would voluntarily bus kids in and out. And it certainly changes the manner in which you consider race. But I like to think that was not so much a defining experience as it was a learning experience.
Okay.
And if nothing else, it provides a more tempered perspective on race relations.
Well, that was a long time ago, Jack. And like when you talk about, when you say somebody's racist, okay, first of all, I don't like that word, racist. You know why I don't like it? Because everybody has racist tendencies. Everybody in this room has racist tendencies. And if you say you don't, you're lying to yourself, okay? Nobody's going to say, yes, I'm a racist. I've never heard that before. No. So if somebody says something off the wall racially, that doesn't make you a racist, okay? I mean, that to me anyways, because I'm around people, okay, that say off the wall stuff, and I know they're not racist because they're hanging around with me. You know
when
what I'm saying?
Say, again, and I think it probably depends on what you consider to be racism, but the reality is that if an individual perceives someone by virtue of the color of their skin, then that borders on a type of racism. And again, I think there's been huge advances made. In all fairness, when Doug Williams was playing, when Warren Moon was starting, these guys were viewed as black quarterbacks.
They still are.
But I'm going to respectfully disagree with you.
They still say black quarterback.
Really?
Absolutely.
I respectfully disagree with you. I think that in terms of the manner in which Doug Williams or Warren Moon were defined as black quarterbacks, Jameis Winston is not referred to as a black quarterback.
No.
He's a quarterback who happens to be black. And that's a huge distinction. And I think that reflects a huge difference in a progression in the manner in which we think. Again, we've come a long way, but we have a long way to go.
Now, if Jameis Winston took his Buccaneers to the Super Bowl this year, which would be awesome, wouldn't it? It'd be awesome.
That would be awesome, and obviously our hopes and
I'm not betting
we're optimistic. I'm not betting anything.
I'm not betting my house on it.
Let's root for it, right?
So you're going to tell me if Jameis Winston takes his team to the Super Bowl this year, black quarterback's not going to come up? I bet my house it does. I bet they start going back and they showing us which black quarterbacks won. It's never going to change. I sit here listening to these politicians. I can't remember who it was. He came out and he says, we have to stop talking about white, black, and what. And anytime I hear an election, white vote, black vote, Hispanic vote, woman vote, men vote, and not American vote. Who cares? I mean, but it's never going to change, unfortunately.
But again, the folks who are in decision-making capacities, and this is true not merely in politics, but this is true in education, this is true in business, we look at statistics. People look at statistics. Whether this is a Democratic region, a Republican region, whether it's socioeconomically sophisticated, whether it's poor, whether it's white, black, whether it's primarily female, primarily male, this is a manner in which we define distinctions. And to say it's going to go away, I think, is naive.
No, it's never.
To suggest, however, that it's necessarily a bad thing, I would suggest to you, is also naive. It's no different than, if we talk about on an NFL team, okay, or how about on a baseball team? How many guys are batting above 250? Mm-hmm. It's a line of demarcation. It's a distinction. It doesn't necessarily have to be negative. It's certainly not necessarily positive. It just is what it is. I think the continued dialogue is important. I don't think there's anything wrong with recognizing someone as a man, recognizing someone as a woman, recognizing someone as black, recognizing someone as white, recognizing someone as old, recognizing someone as young. But it's when there's a negative connotation based strictly upon what that based on what that distinction is. That's racism.
Now,
and that's stereotyping, and that's what's evil.
I have to ask you this, okay? Obviously, law is what you're about, and you have to love law to be where you are, okay?
And I'm blessed because I do.
No doubt. Now, when I look at, different situations, different cases, let's use Trayvon Martin as an example, okay? Mm-hmm. Forget about law for a second. Let's just use common sense. If a young man is walking in somebody's neighborhood, minding his own business, and gets approached, shouldn't he be able to defend himself? Forget about law. Should he be able to defend himself? Because I walked in neighborhoods as a young kid, and if I'm walking in the middle of the street and somebody walks within 5 feet of me, then if you get within 2 feet, we have to fight because I don't know you. If I say, do I know you? If I don't know you.
I think that's a dangerous line of thought. I'm going to respectfully disagree with you again. Certainly an individual has an opportunity and a right to defend themselves if they are otherwise attacked, if that individual otherwise feels threatened.
Why else would somebody approach you at nighttime in the middle of the street? Why would they approach you?
You're suggesting to me that if anyone enters your personal space within 2 or 3 feet of you, you feel compelled to...
In the middle of the night, yes. If there's nobody else around, if I'm in the middle and I turn around and somebody's walking right at me, I would say, do I know you, sir? And if he doesn't know me, I don't care if you don't like me being in your neighborhood. You can't come in my space. And if I start whooping your ass, you can't shoot me.
Let me ask you, does it make a difference if the man is in his late 80s and walking timidly with a cane? Do you feel the same way?
I would. Yes, I would. Now,
let's presume you got some sick, crazy hottie. 24-inch waist.
Yes.
Wearing... Producers, everybody's jumping in on this one. You got the titty top. You got the tight running shorts. That gal enters your space, approaches you. You feel threatened? You feel like throwing?
Yes.
No way.
In the middle of the street at nighttime, I'm going to say, do I know you? Hello. Peace is violated. At 12 o'clock at night, walking in the street, there's no reason for anybody to be within my 2 feet of space when we have the whole rest of the world.
And you're understanding, you are absolutely just begging me to play devil's advocate. What the hell are you doing in the middle of the street?
I'm walking home.
Walking home from what? Where you been?
Okay,
you're up to no good.
My whole life.
You know as well as I do. You're up to no good.
Okay, see now, Your Honor. Back in the day, I used to walk home from my boy Sean's house after every Monday Night Football, so that was midnight. Right. And I used to walk with a hoodie, with my hat up, with my hood up. Okay. Could somebody say to me, you're not supposed to be here? And then I start
I'd imagine in our old neighborhood, I can see that occurring.
But that's the problem.
I agree.
That's the problem.
I don't disagree with you.
I have every right to be wearing anything I want walking in any neighborhood.
You do.
And this vigilante, which is what he is, end up killing this young boy for nothing. And he got off. And then we found out afterwards the guy's a scumbag from top to bottom. So is our system flawed?
I'd like to think that those circumstances are anomaly circumstances, and I'd like to believe in the good of human beings and I'm optimistic, if you will, about human nature. And again, I'd like to think that the vast majority of people are folks who are not going to cause hostility, but rather they are going to attempt to do good and repair the world rather than seek to further harm it.
You don't really believe that, do you?
I do.
You really do?
Maybe I'm a naive MF.
Oh, you're an optimist, bro. I love it. I love it. You're an optimistic son of a gun.